Hello, my friend, and welcome back to this little prison I call home. I think you know what time it is. That's right, time to discuss another intriguing individual. Joining me today is MD Who Entertainment, and she'll be helping me out in telling this tale. This is the tale of one of the most human vampires you'll ever have the pleasure of meeting. Emiel Regis Rohellec Terzieff-Godefroy. You know what? That's a mouthful. So let's just call him Regis. Regis resembled a taller, older man in dark alchemist attire, with dark eyes, swept-back grey hair, and legendary sideburns. When enraged or in a fight, his claws would lengthen, and his face would become like that of a bat. His human form is nothing more than a facade to hide what truly lies underneath. In his true form, he resembles a giant, nightmarish bipedal bat.
Regis was born in another dimension where his kind, vampires, were originally from. However, he and his fellow vampires were brought to a new world through a cosmic event called the Conjunction of the Spheres. He had to adapt to his new surroundings by taking a more human form. For vampires in the world of Witcher, consuming blood is not needed for them to live. Rather, it's more like alcohol to them, albeit stronger, more addictive. And their victims could die if the vampire takes too much blood. Regis found himself addicted to blood. One day he found himself quite drunk off of blood and found himself crashing into a nearby village well. The villagers, seeing what he was, stabbed him with wooden stakes, poured holy water on him, which didn't work on him, mutilated his body and buried him underground. He spent 50 years buried underneath the ground, regenerating, and during those 50 years he had plenty of time to reflect on his addiction and actions. After he regenerated, he emerged from the ground. Any other vampire would have immediately taken their revenge on the village and slaughtered every man, woman, and child. But not Regis. He left the village and swore never to drink blood again.
He took up residence in an old elven cemetery, and one day he met a group of dwarven refugees escaping from Nilfgaardians, with an archer and a certain witcher leading it. Regis and his new friends shared some of his signature mandrake liquor, or, to put it more bluntly, mandrake moonshine. Regis's new friend, Geralt of Rivia, would become one of the closest people to him, but we'll get more to that later. Regis learned from the more inebriated members of the refugee group that Geralt was looking for his adopted daughter, Ciri. Regis, most likely intrigued by this, accompanied Geralt on his travels. Regis, Geralt, Milva, and the refugees came across a priest accusing a clearly mentally challenged woman of being a witch. Geralt and the others wanted to help the woman escape the priest, but the priest demanded that they perform a seemingly impossible task: to fetch a hot horseshoe out of the fire with their bare hands. Regis calmly and effortlessly did this, and handed it over to the priest. The priest was angered and claimed the act to be black magic, but before he could unleash peasants on the group, Nilfgaardians attacked. Geralt and his bard friend Dandelion were captured, and it was up to Regis, the archer Milva, and a new Nilfgaardian party member, the Black Knight Cahir, to rescue Geralt and Dandelion. Regis non-lethally incapacitated the guards that were keeping the Witcher and the Bard hostage. However, Geralt, being an experienced Witcher, he quickly deduced what Regis was, and warned Regis that it would be best if the two never met again. Regis, being himself, didn't listen, because Dandelion was injured. Regis was eventually accepted into the group, and Geralt, sooner or later, warmed up to him. A young woman named Angoulême joined the party, and they eventually learned the location of Ciri and Geralt's lost lover, Yennefer. They were being held by the sorcerer Vilgefortz in his stronghold, Stygia Castle. Geralt, Regis, Milva, Cahir, and Angoulême stormed the castle, and Dandelion was off screwing Toussaint's Duchess. Unfortunately, Milva, Angoulême, and Cahir gave their lives to protect Ciri and Yennefer while the battle occurred. As Vilgefortz was about to kill Yennefer, Regis swooped in and saved her. Vilgefortz, however, acted quickly before Regis could react, and his body was completely destroyed. And all that was left of the know-it-all vampire was but a stain on the floor.
However, this wasn't the end of Regis, and what was left of him was scooped up by a fellow vampire named Detlev van der Eretain. Detlev used his own blood to help regenerate Regis, and because of this the two became blood brothers, a bond much stronger than any human could have, and Regis became indebted to him. However, Detloff had been threatened by a mysterious blackmailer, claiming that Detloff's beloved Renawid, a human woman, would be tortured and killed if he didn't kill 5 prominent people in the Duchy of Toussaint. Of course, Detloff wanted to protect the woman he loved, so he went on a killing spree to try to save her. Geralt had also been summoned to Toussaint to track down Detloff, known to the public as the Beast of Beauclair. Geralt eventually tracked down Detloff, and the two fought in a small warehouse. Detloff became immaterial and launched a surprise attack on Geralt. However, the Witcher's old friend stepped in the way of the killing blow.
You were to stay where you were. Regenerate.
I know you're in trouble. I can help.
I'll help myself.
No, he's my friend. Yes, Geralt, it's me.
Regis? You alright?
All is well. All's in order. Wounds such as these heal on vampires in moments. But we've not seen one another in ages, my friend. At least in human terms, that is.
How's this even possible? Last I saw you,
I was a bubbling, shapeless smear, having been rather spectacularly melted into a column of a certain castle. In somewhat better shape now, as you can see. Hardly peak form, mind you, but were I human, folk would think me a demigod, I dare say.
Regis and Geralt embraced, and they both were happy to see each other after all that time, especially for Geralt since he thought Regis was dead. Since Regis and Detloff were blood brothers, Regis knew Detloff very well, and figured Detloff had been killing for a very good reason. Regis and Geralt eventually discovered that the blackmailer had been Renawid herself, or as she was actually known, Siana, the estranged sister of the Duchess Anna Henrietta, and she had been using Detloff to kill the people that had wronged her in the past. Once Detloff learned the news, he threatened to raze Beauclair, the capital city of Toussaint, to the ground if they didn't bring Siana to him in 3 days.
If you do not, I will raze Beauclair to the ground. This I promise you. You've 3 days. I shall be waiting.
Siana was arrested, however, and in 3 days' time, Detloff unleashed legions of vampires on Beauclair. Many innocents were dying, and Regis convinced Geralt to find Siana and bring her to Detloff. Geralt eventually found her, and Regis, Geralt, and Siana waited for Detloff to show up at the meeting point he designated. Detloff eventually showed up and attempted to kill Siana. But however, she was teleported away to another dimension, via a ribbon. Detloff, filled with anger and confusion, attacked Geralt, but Regis intervened, and the two vampires began to fight. Geralt joined in, but Detloff gained the upper hand by slamming Regis into a wall, knocking him unconscious. Now it was up to Geralt to defeat Detloff. During the fight, Detloff turned into his true and eldritch form. Though through great effort, Geralt was able to defeat Detloff, not without experiencing one of the most intense fights of his career as a Witcher. Geralt wanted to finish Detloff off, but only higher vampires have the ability to kill other vampires. So Regis demanded that Geralt leave. Regis made a split decision, let the person who was closer than a brother to him live, and let innocents die, or kill him and end the bloodshed. He couldn't let any more people die, so he chose the hardest choice, to kill the person closest to him.
Leave him to me. Be gone.
I can't let...
I insist.
Vampires have an unspoken rule that states that they cannot kill one another, and since Regis broke that rule, he now was an outcast and would be attacked on sight if another vampire saw him. After sharing some mandrake moonshine with Geralt, he told Geralt that he would be moving away from Toussaint and south to Nilfgaard, as the people of Nilfgaard are a more modern society and don't believe in vampires anymore. Perfect for him to lay low. The most notable thing about Regis when you talk to him is his intelligence. He's quite wise and has a tendency to interrupt people sometimes when he knows the answer to certain questions, and can be described as a bit of a know-it-all. He also really likes to debunk misconceptions about vampires, like not being able to walk in sunlight, or being afraid of garlic. He has a certain elegance and politeness to him. The best thing to describe him would be a gentleman. He's also quite fond of making moonshine, particularly of the mandrake variety. He's also quite sympathetic towards humans, saving the mentally disabled woman when he first started traveling with Geralt, abstaining from blood because he knows the harm it does to humans, and killing his best friend Detlef so that countless human lives could be saved. Another part of his personality is his aversion to drinking. While drinking blood is an incredibly pleasurable experience to a vampire, he chooses not to because of the previous addiction he had. When he regenerated, Geralt asked him if he could maybe try blood since he's in a new body, and there's a possibility he wouldn't get addicted. Well, let's just say he adamantly refused.
Got a new life, new body. That give you a new start, blank slate?
Starting all anew is a very broad concept. What exactly do you mean?
Your blood addiction, say. Wondering if your body's the same, if it still remembers. Maybe if you drank now, you wouldn't get hooked.
All addictions are a form of slavery. Re-addiction's not a risk I'm willing to take, just to test a hypothesis about corporeal regeneration and whether propensities carry over.
Fair enough. Curiosity, that's all. Sorry.
To truly understand most of Regis's abilities, one must comprehend what he is. He, unlike his lesser vampire cousins, Ekimara, Bruxay, Fletters, etc., is a higher vampire, one of the most powerful beings in the entire Witcher world. He's able to move as quick as the wind, able to incapacitate people non-lethally in seconds, slice people in two with his razor-sharp claws, shrug off wounds that would kill humans like it was nothing but a bug bite to him. He was also friends with ravens and would often use them to send messages or gather information for him. And all that topped with his high levels of intellect in true form, make him one dangerous man. Possibly the most interesting of Geralt's friends, he's a gentleman, barber surgeon, scholar, and vampire all rolled into one person. Regis disproves the notion that all creatures of the night are without compassion, refinement, intelligence, loyalty, which Mr. Terzieff-Godefroy has in spades. Alright, my friend, thank you for stopping by, and a special thanks to the fantastic MD Who. Thank you so much for listening to Regis's tale, and I hope you learned more about him. Goodbye, my friend. Hope to see you next time.
When she thought me out of earshot, she called me a blood accuser. She and Siana laughed so hard they almost choked. Blooda is damned, or cursed. What's Kusa?
In the melodious tongue of our none-too-friendly neighbors to the south, the word describes the many-petaled flower that blooms in that place we so unmelodiously call the crotch.